Let's see here. I think we're live everywhere else except for maybe LinkedIn. So I just want to welcome everybody to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. Super excited about today's episode. I've got a leader's leader with me today, helping us predict what's going to happen in 2021, yet teaching principles that ultimately you control what happens in 2021. Regardless of who's in the White House, regardless of what happens there, you are going to be the biggest determining factor of what happens in 2021. And again, I have somebody with us today that not only succeeds at a high level, but he helps others and our industry as a whole succeed at a high level. Before I get into the full introduction of today's guest, I want to remind you that within the Think Bigger Real Estate group on Facebook, we take snippets, the key components of this that you need to apply in your business to be a big thinker, to be a high achiever. We put those things in that group so that you can easily digest those things. So again, back to today's guest. His name is Drew Coleman. For those that aren't familiar with Drew, he's been in the industry a while. He's got a young baby face, but you wouldn't know that when you kind of heard his accomplishments. So a few things, Drew, I'm just going to kind of embarrass you a little bit here. Your team sent this over. I think this is important for people to know that right after graduating from George Fox University, you've been thriving as a real estate agent, started growing his team in 2010, and your team is now one of the top producing teams in Oregon. Outside of, again, your success in the industry, the thing that I love about what you've done is that you're really giving back, right? You're the president of PMAR, incoming president of Oregon Realtors, and most recently you're a graduate of the National Association of Realtors Leadership Academy. We could go on, but I think that at least gives people an idea that you're not just about building the Drew Coleman team, although that's a big part of what you do, but you're really about building a better industry. So I want to thank you for that.
Oh, thank you, Justin. Yeah, no, serving in 2019 as PMAR president and then stepping in here pretty soon to Oregon Realtors President it's a passion of mine. I mean, can you think of an industry, and you deal with us agents all the time, Justin, can you think of an industry where people just give more of their heart and soul to what they do, and to be able to stand up for those folks and advocate for them and help them be able to do business better is a real honor. So it's a lot of fun, and thanks for having me on.
I appreciate you saying that, Drew. It's interesting. Oftentimes from the outside, right, people will look at real estate agents and say, they make great money and they don't work very much. You and I know the other side of that, right? That real estate agents literally pour their heart and soul into their business, into their clients, right? There's a few that, maybe create a kind of a bad name, but most real estate agents do it because they love people, they serve people, and they really have a passion for helping people make, what is, one of the most important decisions of their life. And it's critical work. And I don't think it can be overstated how hard real estate agents, the good ones, how hard they work and how much they pour into their clients. So I agree with you. I think it's a cause worth fighting for, as far as being sure that the industry continues to improve and that they, that the overall environment improves, on their behalf.
No, it's a passion of mine, and when you're younger in your career, Justin, you feel like you're competing with everybody. And then you start to realize, and I hope as you grow and mature, and we all have, it's been a long time since those George Fox days. I can tell you that. I had a lot more hair and was a lot leaner. I don't know, the dad bod thing, I guess, is becoming real popular. Thank heavens, because I'm trending right into that. But you realize that there's a lot of great people, and that there's a lot of times there's a good fit for everybody as far as working with different clients. But so many people put their heart and soul, and it is a hard business. I'm sure you've heard, and you probably get it being in your position, and I hear all the time, hey, I want to get into real estate. I'm looking to try something new. It looks great. It looks great on HGTV. I have a friend who does it. They do really well. I'm going to give it a shot. And it's the best business in the world. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love it. Every day we get up and help people, and that's a lot of fun. But, the average agent sells 0 homes in their first 6 months in the business. And the mean number of transactions for an agent is 3. So when you look at that, it's just like anything else. I think we all look at the college football star who could be making millions of dollars, and should they be compensated for that? But it's the third string kicker who still shows up to practice every day that you got to make sure you keep in your heart. And I'm not demeaning any agents calling them the third string kicker, but my point is, everyone's doing the work, and we need to make sure all of us are stood up for.
Yeah, it's good. It's great insight. Let's talk a little bit about 2021. Obviously, we're in a really interesting spot in our nation right now, in which the election is over, but we still have, undecided as far as who's going to be our president.
Is it over?
Yeah, right. Let me say the polls have closed. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Polls have closed.
And yet there's some uncertainty, right? And I think a lot of people have maybe hinged their success based on their candidate winning. And I think if there's anything that I've learned, right, there were people that when Trump won in 2016 who said, this is the end of the world, my business is going to totally fail. And they've had a great 4 years, right? And on the other side, there are people who said when Obama became president that it's over, right? And so not getting into the politics side, but I'm deeply invested in the mindset side. And I think that the most important house that you can take care of is your own house, not the White House. And I think that all starts with the mindset of realizing that there are things that you can control and there's things that you can't control. And the reality is ballots have been cast. You can't control that now. But what you can control is your own business, and keep your mind right. Maybe even keep your eyes and heart kind of out of that to some degree, right? Even though it's very, very important to all of us. I think really focusing on kind of your customers matters a lot. Talk to us a little bit kind of about that, Drew, about how you're helping other agents and yourself to really keep your mindset right, as you know, with the uncertain world in which we're living.
Great question, and you hit it on the head. Quite frankly, I mean, I'm a big believer in civic duty, and I'm a big believer in the Realtor Party, which is kind of my political party, if you want to call it that, and we can get into that a little bit later, for political candidates who support home ownership and what we do and help everyone achieve the American dream, which I wish 100% of Americans owned a home. That'd be awesome. But you're exactly right. If you freeze frame yourself, and if you turned off all the social media, if you turned off all the news, and I've been doing this since 2001. So we had great years under President 43. We've had great years under President 44. We've had great years under President 45. And are there some little tweaks that make some differences? Sure. But I believe, I can control me, and everyone should go vote. But after that, let's go about our business and make sure that we're doing the best for us. And, I think we've all experienced a mindset shift. I mean, you and I are here from presumably our home office that we've decorated to make sure it's looking good on the video conferencing and everything like this. I wouldn't even known I needed this setup 7 months ago, right? But we all adapt. But I mean, for me, mindset wise, this has been a tough year, and I tend to be a positive mindset kind of guy. But when we started the year, I had real high expectations. I'm a goal-oriented person. We always set out we're doing our gratitudes in the morning, and we're talking about where we're going to achieve. And when everything shut down, you remember the mindset just in that first couple of weeks of quarantine when everyone came in, and I went into didn't want to get out of bed for a couple of weeks, which is pretty unusual for me, just because I thought that we're not going to be able to do business anymore. And as long as we can do business, the world is unlimited as far as I can concern. But the thought that beyond the fact and the heaviness of not knowing what this pandemic would look like and this awful virus that's infecting the world, but also, how will business look and how are we going to feed our family? And I'm grateful for that, because we've had to be even stronger mentally going forward this year, after you kind of say, okay, it's time to stop wallowing in your own sorrow, Drew. Everyone else is in the same position. And credit to Oregon Realtors working with the legislator to make sure that we were deemed an essential business, or not essential in Oregon technically, but allowed to continue doing it as long as social distancing and everything was followed. We set back to work, and we're on pace for a record year, and as are many agents who have worked really hard. So mindset's so important. I know that you preach that. I mean, the name of your podcast says it all, Think Bigger. And I just love that line of thinking, and it's been great to grow through this and have a mental adjustment as well.
So your predictions for 2021 then?
I think we'll have a president by then. I think that's my prediction.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
It could be a really interesting Christmas season if we're still asking if Santa could put our particular candidate into our stock for president. That would be nice. From the housing industry, what would you predict?
I think it's going to be a great year. I mean, the nice thing is we have some, the hardest in Event Horizon is the most difficult thing to predict, because it's never happened before. And that's what we entered into March, when it was difficult. Now we're in November. We have 8 months of history of what this can look like and how we can do business safely. Our team's been able to do amazing things this year, acting really safely. I mean, who knew what the little copper key was that was antibacterial, that you could turn light switches on and off? Who knew about face shields and masks and gloves and Lysoling everything down? And we've bought a couple of machines for our team that are air purifiers that will kill the virus in the air. I mean, you go above and beyond all this. I wish I invested in PPE, heaven forbid that we needed it before, and internet streaming services before. But I think 2021 is going to be an outstanding year. I mean, they've committed at the Fed level to keeping rates low through 2023. We've looked online. Sometimes they'll predict what interest rates are going to be. Interest rates in the twos are, it's unbelievable the opportunity they're giving to people. The nice thing is living in Portland, Oregon, it's getting more expensive, but the rates help. And it's still the lowest and most affordable West Coast city when you compare it to Seattle and Las Vegas and Los Angeles and Phoenix and San Francisco. So we're in a great place. We'll hope that the legislature will allow us to continue to do business and do some things that are favorable to business while also taking care of the social things that they need to do. So I think it's going to be a great year. I think that if you made me crystal ball it today, I'd say that we're going to see about 5% appreciation next year. And we're going to see if we can get some inventory, which is a challenge in this state, and we get some building going on. We'll see people doing about 103% of what they did this year volume wise. So it's going to be another really, really good year.
That's great. Great insight. Yeah, I've taken particular interest in this conversation of volume, right? That's one of the things that I think oftentimes people think that they can't influence. And I believe at a macro level, that's absolutely true. I do think, however, that on a micro level, you can control your own inventory, right? You can be very strategic in the way you go about it and the relationships that you build to where you are in the know with what's coming down the pipe ahead of even at times some of the big tech players. And I think that includes being very relational. I know you guys have built a business that way, both with other real estate agents, right? You've got kind of very friendly relationships throughout the industry, as well as obviously a strong database of people that kind of keep you in the loop as far as what inventory opportunities are coming, so that you aren't necessarily chasing them at the same kind of way that maybe other agents are. Talk to us a little bit about maybe your strategy. Obviously, you're confident that the market is going to be strong. I agree with you. I think that there's more of an emphasis on the home than ever before, right? That more and more people have realized that they can be very productive at home, and now they're going to maybe settle into that and be like, my quality of life is fantastic. I'm steps away from family as opposed to a long commute from family. And I've proven that I can be effective. Therefore, maybe I'm just going to set up home and maybe make, do an addition and even a remodel to make it work. And now my kid's school is here. Maybe we're even going to be doing some more of that even after the pandemic. I'm actually speaking from firsthand experience, both of those things, and I think I'm not alone, right? There's people actually choosing to make home more a center of their life than they had it before. And so I think the housing industry as a whole, I think will be strong. So I appreciate you kind of sharing the data behind that. As far as what we can expect moving forward, let's talk a little bit about internally on kind of your team. Obviously, kind of opening up kind of your secrets to what you do to produce at such a high level, bringing in agents, helping them produce it at a high level, right? That really becomes kind of even more than just a success thing. It becomes a significant thing when you can start to really impact people's lives and help other people have great businesses. Kind of what's been the key to that for you, Drew, in attracting great talent and keeping great talent and helping great talent have great success?
That's an awesome question. And that's one thing that I really love about the business. And I really like working in the team format for that reason. I've gotten a chance to help, we've helped, over 1,000 nice families throughout the years buy and sell homes. And I love that. I love helping them, but it gives me great pride to be able to help even more people and having our team do that and having them, quite frankly, when they're dealing with a client, doing it. The goal is every transaction should be better than the last. And it's very difficult. A lot of people are not terribly introspective in this day and age, but you're not going to be perfect. You can be very good, but every day you should be growing and learning from it. So being able to say, okay, we did this time, next time, and always adding things to the process that are of benefit to the clients, and I think, moving yourself into someone else's shoes is very, very difficult. And sometimes we get in our industry, and I think it happens wherever you are. If you're a doctor, sometimes you get so used to doing surgery, it's difficult to remember what it feels like in the waiting room while your loved one is having surgery, right? Mm-hmm. For us, sometimes it can be difficult to remember how stressful it can be when you're buying a home. And I've got friends who are in this industry who we on different sides of it, and we've helped buy and sell homes, and seeing them when they deal with their business part of it versus when they are actually mentally in the transaction themselves is different. So meeting people where they're at, helping to diffuse their stress, giving them really good advice, because we live in a society where, we've never had more information and less wisdom. So discerning everything, I saw this on HGTV. I read this on the internet. I read this in some real estate publication. Okay, well, here's what our experience is. I got a friend of a friend who has been a pilot for Phil Knight and Bill Gates, private pilot, right? And as you might imagine, this pilot makes lots and lots of money doing what they do. And you might think, okay, well, I can get on a Southwest Airlines flight for $99 to Los Angeles. And the chances that it gets there are pretty much the same as Phil Knight or Bill Gates's private jet. Mm-hmm. But why do they pay Phil Knight, Bill Gates's private pilot that much more? The answer is they've got the experience. They've done more and more. They've proven themselves. And that expertise, if something goes wrong, that's what you're paying that person a little bit extra for. So I think in our business, it's a lot the same, relying on the experience that you've gleaned, learning from other people in the industry. I think sometimes real estate agents are by nature a pretty confident bunch. You have to be to go into someone's house and convince them of something. And, if they, just like when you're hiring a doctor, again, you've got to feel like this person knows what they're doing. I'm not going to go with someone who's like, I think we should do this. No, doctor's like, listen, here's what you're doing. You're an attorney. Here's what you're doing. You're going to plead this, deal with it. Real estate agents need that, but they also need to keep the empathy. So that's really what we've been working on with our team. How do we put ourselves mentally into the position where we're thinking about the client first and foremost? What do they need now? They need help getting their utilities on. What do they need now? They're thinking about moving boxes. Now they're thinking about an insurance binder. Where would I be mentally in this step? They're thinking about going into escrow to sign their documents. Well, how will that feel to them? What does escrow mean? Do they need a definition of it? Do we leave them and drop them off at closing, or do we reach out to them 2 weeks later when their house is still boxes and see what they need as far as an introduction to the neighbors? That kind of process really gets me up in the morning and makes me really excited.
The part that I love you said about that, it's not just the client experience from an outside perspective, but it's like, how does the client feel at that moment? I think that's a real nugget that everybody should really digest and take in, is that our clients all along the way, they're experiencing things and then they're feeling things. And if you can start to influence not just what they experience, but even anticipate what the next experience is going to be and how they're going to feel at that time. And then you can reverse engineer to say, how do we help them to feel confident here? Whereas this is doubtful, this is scary, this is like overbearing, this is, all these feelings that might not be positive. How do we step in advance and kind of recreate the experience there to where they feel confident, they feel trusting, they feel like whatever positive thing we want them to feel, we can kind of play with that, right? And be sure that they feel totally in control. And I'm sure, like you said, I love the analogy of flying, to these places, like in two different ways, right? And you're right. One is worth a lot more money and people are willing to pay for it if there's an expert who makes the client experience totally different, right? Totally different standing in a Southwest Airlines versus flying private, right? I know a lot about the prior and not much about the latter. But
we'll get there.
We will. But from what I've been told, it's a very different experience. Yeah. And I love that. Of almost as an industry taking on that, like if we're going to expect to be paid more than a tech portal, right, that we really have to be able to provide more than a tech portal, right? And I see agents that are very good at doing exactly what a tech portal would do, and yet demanding a kind of a higher fee. And I think those days are gone, right? And it's just a matter of time before consumer realizes that I don't need to pay that much for this. But if they're receiving an entirely different experience that feels different the whole way, now all of a sudden people are willing to pay for that, right? Because it's a different experience.
We have a friend, and people worry that real estate agents are going the way of the travel agent. But I have a friend who runs a travel agency, and they specialize in very catered and curated safaris in Africa. And this person's been on a number of safaris themselves. They've seen the local villages. They know the people on the ground. I think we're going to enter more of a niche market as far as real estate goes that way, where you're going to have known that experience so well. And we're going to see the middle of the road agent need to improve their skills or have some downward pressure on them as far as commission and volume go. So it's a great opportunity because I think that the competition is pushing the level of service and raising the bar in the industry, which is something that we want to do because we want to take that realtor brand, which is so valuable, and elevate it in the mind of consumers, where there's a reason that realtor is pronounced like doctor. We're high level. We're not used car salesmen, and we want to make sure we emphasize that. So,
boy, great points, Drew. Really great points. Let's move to this topic. You give back a lot, right? I mean, that's really in your DNA, in your team's DNA. Obviously, serving, as PMAR president, and now moving into this new president role, right? Not of the U.S. In case anybody's wondering, Drew actually wasn't on the ballot, although I might
still being counted. Yeah.
The write-ins aren't totally collected, so we don't know yet. But talk to us a little bit about why you do that. Like kind of the mindset behind it. I would imagine that if you were to take your hours that you're spending as presidents of these large organizations and committees, or just serving on different boards, and reallocate that to your real estate business, the dollar per hour would be significant, right? Like this is, and you don't necessarily get an ROI on that in the sense that you would if you devoted it to your business per se. Talk to us a little bit about kind of the mindset behind that and what that does for you, both personally as well as just your business.
Teddy Roosevelt, I believe, said that every man owes a portion of his time to the matter which gave him success. So I believe that I owe it, and we've had great success in real estate, as have many agents. We owe time to make sure that the framework and the playing field that was created by the many giants who have gone before us in real estate and have created our code of ethics, which people, I think, take the code of ethics, the realtor code of ethics, for granted. But when you think about the realtor code of ethics, in other countries, a friend of mine was telling a story the other day, and he went to look at properties in Brazil. And he talked to one agent and showed him the property, and the price was $450,000. Just out of curiosity, tried another agent. The price was $625,000 the next day. We don't have that. They don't have that ethical foundation where it is what it is. You're a fiduciary to the consumer. And real estate in the United States has this fundamental undergirdment of trust because of that code of ethics. And we can trust that this person is accountable if they're not honest to the client and they don't do things in a certain way. So that's part of it. Another thing is I think we can accomplish great things. And I think we have a duty to protect the homeowners who have invested in us and financially benefited us and our families. So things like the Realtor Political Action Party, RPAC, which again, that's my passion politically, because there's always going to be Republicans and Democrats in wherever you are. If you're looking at the state legislature, you're looking at the Senate, the U.S. House, the presidency, it's going to change, right? But if we can run a common thread, and the Realtor Political Action Committee gives to both Republicans and Democrats a 50-50 split. Well, if we can run this common thread of protecting home ownership through that, that's going to be able to accomplish something. And I'm super proud. And most of the top agents that I know give to RPAC at a major investor level. And if those who don't, come talk to me and we can chat about why it's important to the industry. And for instance, one thing that was done this year with the Realtor Political Action Committee is, how many self-employed contractors still were eligible for unemployment assistance through the program. Well, that was a huge lobbying effort based on NAR's lobbyists in Washington, D.C., and it's never happened before. These people don't pay into that program. But looking at the pandemic and due to the voices that we had and the connections that we made through that program, we were able to advocate for that and make sure that those who were not able for those 2 weeks, or if you're in New York State, months work, were at least able to have some income coming into their family. So stuff like that really makes me excited. One thing we've done at the state level, if you let me brag for 2 seconds, would be under the leadership of Jenny Pakula, our CEO, we were able to get realtors health insurance, which was just approved. So if anyone's watching out here and is a realtor, your company, your brokerage where you work is now eligible to enter into a large group plan. And I can tell you the rates are really, really good because of the large group nature of this plan. For instance, our staff at Oregon Realtors, we were able to move them over onto this plan. And the savings rate from a small group plan to a large group plan for the same demographic and census people was tremendous. So talk to your principal broker, reach out to info@OregonRealtors.org and say, hey, are we going to be offering this health insurance plan that we've lobbied for? Another super success was when the wildfires have kind of ravaged our state here really recently. We were able to apply for a grant through the National Association of Realtors for $500,000 that was distributed to people in the communities that were affected, lost their homes, had to move out. So that was a really prideful moment to see what the association can do as far as good in a really tough time for a lot of people around our state. So that gets me excited. It's like, hey, we can sell $100 million worth of real estate this year, and we love that, and we get to help people, and it benefits our families. And a lot of people on my team are really successful, and they work so hard, and they deserve that. But we can also benefit the community in the same way, and that's the old small town mentality. When I take care of you, you take care of me, and it feels really good for everybody.
Well, if everybody contributes just a little bit, right? I think that's where all of a sudden the magic happens, where there's no one person that can carry that load, but you get a lot of people involved at a small level, whether it be contributing time and or donations, and all of a sudden you have a massive body of people that can really make a difference. And you've proven that. If there was one thing, Drew, that you would ask of people in the best way that they can get involved, if they're a real estate agent right now, they've been totally focused on their own business, and they're saying, you know what, this is resonating with me. I want to preserve this industry, both for me and for others that are going to come after me. What is it that you would ask people to do? Kind of what step one, or a step that you really wish every realtor would do?
I'll give you 3 steps. Okay. And I'll think of them as we go. But no, the first step would be reach out wherever your local board, and you're a member of a local board. You may not know that you are, but most people realize they're a member of a local board. They don't realize that in the 3-way agreement, they're also a member of Oregon Realtors, and they're a member of the National Association. But you probably know you're a member of a local board. So reach out to your local board and say, hey, this industry has given me a lot. I'd love to get involved somehow. I've just been kind of writing my dues checks and never done anything. Is there any committees? Is there any volunteer opportunities? What can I do? So reach out to your local board, go to their website, call the phone number and say, hey, what can I do? Because we'd love to have good people involved. A lot of the people who have been involved for a long, long time, and we're so grateful for them. But the key is having new thought, new leaders come up behind. You know, I was the young pup back in the Young Professionals Network days, but you know, those were many moons ago, and we need that fresh idea and those fresh thoughts in real estate. So I would say that'd be the first thing. Second, if you are interested, if you're a realtor and you're interested in giving back and kind of putting your money where your mouth is, reach out to me, drew@drewcoleman.com, and I'd be happy to talk to you about that. There's some rules around who's a solicitable class, so I can't be reaching out to everybody, but I would love to talk to you about that. And this pin makes a difference, and those who know, turning it the wrong way, those people who know what that means, those are the people that I hold in the highest esteem. So that would be 2. And then 3, just, you know, help community. Make sure that we make sure you're keeping the highest level of ethics and relationships that you're doing, and try to get better every day. Read the code of ethics again. Think about ways that you can give back to your community. There's a program through the NAR that I would probably be my 3rd recommendation, which is C2EX, which kind of talks about civic duty in addition to just being a great salesperson. So I would say that would be the 3rd thing to do, would get on that C2EX program and complete that designation. We are the highest rated state in the nation in the medium state class as far as people who have done that. So we've already done a really good job, but I'd love to see participation all over the board in the state. And it teaches you how to be a better salesman. It teaches you how to be a better leader, which are 2 of my passions. How do we sell better, give back to people better, and then how do we serve each other better?
I want to add in a couple of things here, Drew, because I think, again, you're a perfect role model of this. Somebody who hasn't sacrificed their business to do this, right? I mean, you still have a fantastic business is what I'm saying, right? It's not like you're only selling, you know, a small amount of real estate. You're selling a lot of real estate, and you're giving back in really big ways. And it's interesting, as I talk with real estate agents in a very tight inventory market, they've got a lot of offers on any particular deal, and oftentimes they're choosing offers in part based on the agents that they know and trust, right? I think one of the great ways to really establish yourself as somebody whose offer gets accepted, or at least gets reviewed near the top, is when you have a reputation of not just being a taker from the industry, but being a giver into the industry, right? There's no doubt, and I don't know if you have any quantifiable evidence of this, not that you could even share if you could, but I talk to people who are like, I go back to my sellers and I say, look, this is an offer we need to take seriously. I know this agent, they're good, they're experienced, they're educated, and I just know this offer is going to stick together, right? Like this person is trustworthy. And I think a lot of that comes, again, if people are trying to make a business case for this, I think there is a business case for it. I also want to say that again, the purpose and mission of this show is not just to help you have success in business, but to help you to have a significant life, right? That yes, you can have success and significance, income and impact. And Drew, again, you're a role model for that. I'm very, very grateful for what you've shared and just kind of the way that you've gone about your career in life, because it really allows those of us that are big thinkers, high achievers, aspiring to be such, aspiring to have that name and that brand, to really look to somebody like yourself to say, here's a guy that's doing it, right? Not just a good family man, not just a good member of the community, but also a great producer and really giving back. So I want to thank you for that. My final question, Drew, is the question I ask every big thinker that comes on this show, which is, you are a big thinker. Again, that's why you're here. What is it that you do to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your possibilities, open up opportunities for yourself and your teammates? What does that look like?
I'm sure this is an answer you've gotten before, but it's staying in a constant state of growth and knowing that you never arrive. And that's the journey, not the destination. And that sounds like a lot of cliches, but every day I'm excited. And there's so many people that I've learned so much from. And here's the amazing thing about real estate, Justin. If you watch this podcast and your show and you can learn, almost any agent you can learn something from that does a great job. And around the country, there are going to be places, everyone's a phone call away. There's so much to learn. And I get so energized by reaching out. And, at first it was people in our community, great agents who have done a great job. Bob and Debbie Lau, who I first started working for when I was in the business. So I sat at the shoulder of some of the greatest leaders we've had, and I've gotten to know so many amazing people through the journey. And now I've had the fortune of meeting some of the top people in our industry around the country, whether it's Robert Slack or Chris Lindell or Ben Kinney, and meet people like that. But a great idea can come from anywhere, and don't be so close-minded. You could be a very good salesperson here. You could be one of the best in town, in your city, but it's the growth that's exciting, and staying will keep you engaged. It keeps your mind young. You can't take it with you. I'd rather have more people at my funeral and less dollars in the bank because I gave back something. So stay in a continual growth mindset, challenge yourself, read a book a week on something that interests you, and try to learn from the other people, because I know that's what I have. And then if I have any success, it's because I've learned from these others. So.
Such a humble man for having such great success, Drew. It's such an honor to be able to spend some time with you. I want to thank you again for everything that you've contributed. If you've found value in this, anybody that's listening, I encourage you to tag a friend. This is a great opportunity for us really to look to somebody who's I believe, doing it right in the industry. So Drew, thank you for that. And I want to remind everybody that's listening here today, my final request of each and every one of you, and they are these 3 simple words, and they are: go think bigger. Thank you, Drew, for helping us do that today, my friend.
Thank you.